Hello everyone. Welcome to our webinar and an overview of Google Optimize 360. Thank you everyone for logging in today and listening in. My name's Dave Ekman. I'm the Chief Technology Officer at Cardinal Path, and I'm joined today by Jonathan Mesh, Google's lead product manager for Google Optimize and Optimize 360. John, really appreciate you joining us for this session today.
Yeah, of course. Glad to join.
I'm going to give a quick intro and background on consumer experience and Optimize 360. Sits in the Google stack. Then John will walk us through key features and capabilities of the platform, talk about what's new, and take us through a live demo of the tool. I'm really excited about this session, but before diving in, let's get things started with a quick poll to learn more about the state of testing within your organizations. Please check the response that best fits your organization. We've got a few things here, and really we're looking to understand, are you currently using testing as part of your analytics strategy? Have you dabbled in it? Have you done some ad hoc testing? Or is it really a key part of your ongoing process and how you actually approach marketing and optimization? While we wait for those results to come in, just a reminder, we'll have time for questions towards the end of the session, but please feel free to submit your questions at any time through the question panel on your screen. Also, we are recording the session, and we'll send around a link to the recording shortly after the webinar. So you'll have a chance, if there's something that you heard and you want to review again, no problem. You'll be able to come back and listen to that or forward it along to other people in your organization. So we'll just wait a few more seconds as some of the results come in. And once those are tallied up, we'll present them back to you, and then we'll get started on with the rest of the session. All right, do we want to move to see the results? So this is pretty interesting. It's pretty well spread, but looks like definitely the majority of folks have at least tried out testing and dabbled in it, if not making it much more a part of their ongoing strategy. So that's great to see, but do still see a good portion of folks that have not really touched on testing and optimization as part of their ongoing marketing strategy. So hopefully what everybody will get a little bit out of today, and if there are any follow-ups, or any questions you have, as I said, please submit those through the question panel in today's webinar. So let me jump right in. At Cardinal Path, we really feel that customer experience is the new battlefield for brands, and it's become this differentiator for organizations to sort of separate themselves from the pack. Gartner found that 89% of marketers surveyed seem to agree with us and support the belief that organizations that are able to stand out will do so by delivering memorable experiences across interactions with their brand. And though organizations know they need to do better, the big question is now, how do we do it? How? How do you approach delivering a transformational customer experience? How can we create the hyper-personalized and relevant consumer journeys that make our brands memorable? Well, with the link between improved customer experience and improved business performance becoming more obvious, the need for insights to drive marketing decisions becomes even more critical. Insights can help you identify those gaps in your current consumer journeys and come up with hypotheses to test and drive improvement. And we've seen marketers turn to testing to improve experiences and hence drive conversions, but there's still quite a few gaps and lots of room for improvement. Recently, in a report by eConsultancy, A/B testing is seen as the most widely used form of conversion optimization across the marketers that were surveyed. And this is great to see, but in the world of experience optimization, A/B testing is really just a starting point. And Cardinal Path wanted more info on the subject, so we dove in a bit deeper. We performed our own survey, this time within the retail industry and around the overall state of digital. And unsurprisingly, adoption of testing and personalization tools is really strong within the top 250 retailers. But as we move outside of that group, optimization usage falls away really quickly. You can see in this graph right here. And when you look at retailers in the top 500 to 1,000, adoption is just 18%. So despite the universal use of analytics platforms and that collection of data, the ability to activate that data to drive optimization at scale is lagging some distance behind. So enter Optimize 360, Google's site optimization product, which helps marketers deliver more personalized online customer experiences. Optimize 360 sits within the Google Analytics 360 suite, which is made up of 7 products focused on measurement and insights. Today we're focusing on Optimize 360, but I've also highlighted Tag Manager 360 as it's included for free with the purchase of Optimize 360. You get access to all the enhanced features of the 360 version of the product. The aim of Optimize and Optimize 360 is in part to democratize the area of testing, personalization, and optimization the way Google has done for analytics. And while Optimize 360 is a robust testing tool that can go head-to-head with the standalone solutions out there, its actually most powerful features are its native integrations with Google Analytics 360, other products within the suite, and just other Google products. You know, Optimize is about testing with an emphasis on personalization. You can use Optimize to test just about anything on your site, from simple text changes on checkout pages or different options for offers to more robust changes like a complete homepage redesign. It is very powerful and lets you experiment with your marketing and content in a way that allows you to better understand what works best for the different audiences engaging with your brand. And while testing is really about identifying experiences that drive engaged users that result in conversions, targeted testing offers opportunities to really identify more personalization options that help meet those goals even better. And Optimize enables you to do this all quickly, easily, as you've come to really expect from Google and just like Google Analytics. And ultimately, that's the goal, right? Moving from a generic one size, one site fits all approach to your digital experiences to then really reaching users in more personalized ways by leveraging data such as who they are, how they're behaving, where they came from, and what device they're using. So I'm going to pass it over to John here, and he's going to give a quick overview of Optimize 360, and then we're going to dive into a demo and a few case studies.
Great. Thanks so much, Dave. So as Dave was outlining, really a lot of what we're trying to do with Optimize is help people bridge that gap between where they're at now. Maybe they're kind of doing a lot of analytics and just getting started with testing to getting all the way to those really finely grained, personalized experiences that deliver the most value to your business. And so obviously, a lot of that for us is helping you kind of take that first step. And we at Optimize really believe that really great personalization starts with really great A/B testing. So we want to help you create those variations of your site really simply, launch that experiment against those geometrics that you have a really easy way to analyze your experiment results and get as deep as you want, and then deploy that so that you can have those more optimal experiences. Let's go on to the next slide, Dave. And as Dave mentioned as well, a lot of what we're really trying to do with Optimize is just make this as simple as possible to get started. So the main integration that we have is with Google Analytics and Analytics 360. And there's really 2 directions to that. So many of you who might be used to standalone tools know that you have to retag a lot of things, make sure your conversions match up. Well, we wanted to solve that problem with Google Optimize. So there's actually no such thing as optimized measurement. It's all just Google Analytics. And the cool thing is because you can do that, we can pull over information from Google Analytics about those metrics that you've already instrumented, already care about, and use those as your optimization objectives. Then the data flows right back into Analytics. And additionally, you can target experiments in Optimize 360 against those audiences that come from Analytics. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a minute. I'll show you that in our demo today. With Tag Manager, we're actually built on top of Tag Manager, and so those of you who are familiar with Google Tag Manager know how reliable and how powerful that can be. But we also have some integrations there as well where we can use that data layer and those custom events that you already have with Google Tag Manager in Google Optimize. Finally, as we announced not long ago at the Google Marketing Next conference, we're launching an integration with AdWords very soon, and we wanted to do this to make landing page testing from your marketing efforts really, really simple. So that means that with just a single click, you can link these two products together, and in Google Optimize, you can then see all those accounts, campaigns, keywords that you have available to you, and you can target your landing pages very specifically to make sure that you're matching that customer intent from the ad that's been clicked.
Yeah, John, I love the audience sharing with Analytics 360. We already use that extensively with DoubleClick and other products at Google, and building that into Optimize is really great to be able to create those targeted tests based on all of our clickstream data.
Definitely. Yeah, that's one of our most exciting features about Analytics 360. And as I was mentioning, just to kind of hammer this home a little bit more, Google Analytics, you can take those goals and key metrics, use those as objectives in Optimize for reporting. You can take those audiences from Google Analytics and target those audiences with Google Optimize. And then Optimize then sends all of that information about the experiment that was shown, the variant that a user was exposed to, and that comes back into Google Analytics. And you can dive as deeply as you want into that data there. It's a really nice cycle here. Now, of course, another part of setting up a test is making sure that you have those variants. And I'm sure many of you who've used some of the standalone tools out there are familiar with something called a visual editor. And we've tried to make this as simple to use and as powerful as possible. So we do a lot of things that might be a little bit different than what you're used to make sure that we can work really well on logged-in pages, on pages that might have iframe busting. And we're trying to make sure that it's really, really compatible, including mobile device simulation, to help you see what that might look like as if you were on an iPhone 6 or Google's new Pixel. So you can use a lot of those built-in functions to change text, images, etc. You can do things like moving and resizing, but there's also a lot of power there. We see a lot of people who, once they kind of get their feet wet with testing, want to go to more powerful and complex kinds of tests. And that's where you can do things like editing HTML, CSS, and JavaScript directly to have those more powerful variants. I'll show you that in just a moment. Now, another thing that we've done with Optimize is we looked really deeply at some of the methods that were used for analyzing the statistics. Now, I know a lot of this may be kind of new to many of you, but those of you who have been in this industry a little bit longer know that there's some pitfalls that you have to watch out for when you're testing. Things like making sure you have the right sample sizes, making sure that you're aware of your confidence intervals, and you have to make sure that you're, even the most advanced ones of you might be not familiar with the fact that if you look at your results multiple times, you have to do things like Bonferroni corrections and all sorts of fancy stuff. We went a different direction. We went with an approach called a Bayesian inference approach, and that lets us do a lot of things that are really smarter and more advanced because we can take into account more factors about how your test is behaving, such as if that conversion rate changes over time. Maybe there's a newness effect when users see that test for the first time that wears off over time. And so what we're trying to do is give you more accurate results. Let's go ahead to the next slide, Dave. But despite having that really complex computation that underpins all of that, a lot of what we've done here is really try to make sure that we meet each of you where you're at. Because we realize that some of you have never even heard the term frequentist or Bayesian before, and that's okay. We still want to help you be successful. So at the top of our reporting, we want to make sure that there's really clear, action-oriented results so you can make those business decisions well and quickly. But if you're more advanced, if you want to look at more objectives, if you want to see the broader performance of your test, you can do that in Optimize, or you can go even deeper into Google Analytics itself with all the custom dimensions that you've set up and all the dimensions that come over from Google Optimize. Beyond that, I know many of you have data scientists on staff, and you love the integration that Analytics 360 has with BigQuery. All of that experiment information comes out right via BigQuery as well, so you can get as deep as you'd like in your test analysis. Now, we just earlier this year, rolled out the free version of Google Optimize, and about this time last year, we rolled out the premium version of Optimize called Optimize 360. And they've got a lot of similar capabilities, and we wanted to make sure that people using the free version of Optimize could really get started well. We wanted to make sure that people weren't blocked on, some of the things that they needed to make sure the tool was compatible with their site, and they could get into that nice steady state of running, several experiments on a recurring basis and finding regular value. So Optimize Free lets you do that. So there's A/B testing, redirect testing, multivariate testing, all built in. There's a lot of advanced targeting techniques, including geography, including things like custom JavaScript, data layer targeting, etc. And in Optimize Free, you can select 3 objectives that come from GA that you care about, as well as seeing all of that data go back to GA also. But with Optimize 360, there's a lot more power. So we've made this to be for larger businesses or businesses that have those more sophisticated testing needs, because again, we see that customers of all sizes have a really wide variety of testing experiences. So we let you run more concurrent tests at the same time. You can use more A/B variants, more multivariate combinations. And one of the most powerful things is that Google Analytics audience targeting, which lets you take those segments that you've created in Google Analytics, turn those into audiences, and send them right over to Google Optimize for targeting on the very first hit when they come to that page. For experiment reporting, we realized that a lot of you are getting deeper into your data and want to make sure that you know about all of the effects that your test might have. And so you can have 10 pre-selected objectives, but there's also something where we have this ability to look back at a much broader range of objectives that come from GA as well, even after you've started the test. And I'll show you what that looks like. And then, of course, as with the rest of the 360 suite, it comes with product SLAs, it comes with dedicated support. Of course, this would be through Cardinal Path, who's been a great partner to us and helps you implement, helps you get the most value out of your testing efforts. Just to summarize, Google Optimize 360, the main advantages here are that, again, that audiences integration with Analytics 360, being able to run more tests at the same time, having a bit more power with that A/B and multivariate testing, being able to run larger tests there. More flexibility for that post-experiment analysis with reporting, and then of course the SLAs and support. All right, so at this point I want to go ahead and jump into a demo. And we're going to go right in here. Hopefully you can all see my screen now. Dave, just feel free to speak up if you can. What you're looking at here is one of the sites that we like to play around a lot with on the Google Optimize team. Now this is the Google Merchandise Store. This is a real store and doesn't offer all of the devices and such that you might be used to, but this is a great place to buy t-shirts, coffee mugs, etc. So if you're an Android fanboy, this is where you go to get your stuff. Now what we want to explore here is perhaps a very common test for retailers, and that's cart abandoners. Everyone has this problem where someone gets into the cart and really wants to have that user complete that checkout, but oftentimes they leave the site before they do. And what we're trying to do is when that user comes back to the site, perhaps it's by a remarketing ad or perhaps they just come back directly, we want to make sure that we lock in that purchase. And so what we're going to do is offer free shipping to users who had abandoned that cart the last time. Now I'm going to go ahead and go into the Optimize interface here, and we're going to create an experiment. We're going to call this Cart Abandoners Test, and it's going to run on that page that I just showed you. We're just going to run a simple A/B test for right now. And what's going to happen next is we're creating this test, and you're going to see a few different fields that we have to fill out to make sure that we get this test fully fleshed out. So we're going to make that change to the site, and we're going to set up the objectives, then we're going to set up the targeting as well. So first, let's go ahead and make the variant of that site, that free shipping offer. So we're going to create that new one. Free shipping. And next we're going to go into our visual editor here. Now you might notice that we're actually still at the shop.googlemerchandisestore.com site, and we're actually adding our editor on top of this. And now you can see things happening when I'm kind of hovering around the page. And we've done a lot of different things to help you make sure that you find the right element. You know, we can help you kind of find the right layer of hierarchy to make sure that you get the right element selected. And there's a lot of power here. But to start off with, I want to show you a few things. Of course, there's real simple stuff like drag and drop, reordering, and the main thing that we're going to change right now is this text here. So we want to offer free shipping just for spring free shipping. Now, of course, many of you might be wondering, that's great, you just changed the text, but we have to make sure that that free shipping offer carries all the way through to the cart. So what we're going to do next is add a little bit of JavaScript. Now, I'm just going to copy this JavaScript here, some very simple JavaScript that I got from my developer that indicates that this cart should now be a free shipping cart. So we're going to run JavaScript on that specific element, and we're going to add this little bit of JavaScript that runs right when that element loads. Now, there's a lot of other stuff that I could do here. I don't want to show you all the details of this right now. You can certainly feel free to go play with this on the Google Optimize site yourself. But just a few quick highlights. You can do things like edit CSS directly. You can get into an interactive mode if you need to get to a deeper page or menu. You can change what kind of device you're using this on, and many more things about this editor. But for now, we're just going to go back to that main page. So I'm going to save this and go back. All right. We're having a little problem there. Sorry about that. All right, so getting back into that test, what I want to show you right now is setting up those objectives that come from GA. Now again, I mentioned that this gets linked to Google Analytics. So when you set up Google Optimize, after you test that, you link up that property in that view. So I've already got a property linked here. That's the Google Merchandise Store. And I'm going to choose a specific view that I want to use for this experiment. So I'm going to use this master view here. And then I'm going to select my objectives. Now, of course, what we're really trying to get users to do is complete that purchase. But let's look at a few other things. Let's make sure that users aren't bouncing off here for some reason. Let's make sure that we're capturing the revenue, and let's see if there's maybe a couple other things. Let's look at the engaged users here. And of course, we're trying to encourage you to have really good testing processes and practices. And one thing that we like to encourage you to do is enter a hypothesis. So, of course, free shipping helps cart abandoners complete their purchase. All right. Now, one last thing we need to do, and that's set up targeting. So on the targeting side, we're going to make sure that we get that Google Analytics audience that I mentioned. Now, before I get into that, I just want to show you a few other things here. There's a lot of different criteria here that you can use. So URLs, behavior, geography, technology. These are things like what device you're on, what country you're coming from, any wide variety of things, as well as a lot more technical variables and targeting rules, JavaScript variables, custom JavaScript, etc. I also mentioned that Google AdWords integration, and this is where you would see your accounts and campaigns show up from your AdWords campaigns and could target those. But for now, we're going to use that Google Analytics audience. Now, what I've done over in Google Analytics before is create an audience that's all about cart abandoners, so people who have gotten to that shopping cart page but haven't checked out. So I'm just going to go here and type in cart to find that real quick. Here it is, cart abandoners. We're going to add that audience, and that's about it. Now, this is a live site, so I'm actually not going to start this test right now. I haven't informed those the guys over on that side that I would do this. But from this point, all I would have to do is save that and then start it. And it's ready to go. It's measuring against Google Analytics. All that data comes into Google Analytics. And then you get really focused reporting. Now, I want to show you a little bit about what that reporting looks like. All right, so this is another test that we ran on that same site. And this particular test was all about YouTube. So for customers who were coming over from YouTube.com, we were redirecting them to a YouTube page, with the hypothesis being that users coming from YouTube would prefer to see and buy that YouTube brand and merchandise and are more likely to purchase. So let's see how this one performed. Now, as you can see, for our primary objective here, there wasn't really any clear leader, and that's for this bounces primary objective. We did see that there was sort of a drop here, and that the bounces actually got a little bit worse. So maybe that meant that they found what they were looking for more quickly and decided to leave. But let's look at a little bit more detail and see what exactly happened here. So the nice thing with Google Optimize 360 is not only can I look at these two objectives that I have to start, but I can look at a wide variety of other ones that come over from Google Analytics. So here you can see all of my goals, a wide variety of other metrics like transactions, page views, revenue, etc. And what I want to look at here is see, well, maybe they saw that YouTube product. Let's see if they actually clicked on it. It turns out that they did. There was a range here of, maybe there's a little bit of a chance that it dropped, but it also could have gotten much better. And let's look at a little bit more detail to see exactly how that performs. So here's that same goal, and this chart at the bottom shows us the performance over time, and it shows us that probability to be best. And this is a Bayesian concept that helps you basically understand when you have a lot of different variants, which one is actually going to be the best, and what's that going to look like. And you can see what the range of conversions look like, and you can see this is actually pretty likely to do well, that people are clicking on those products. Maybe they're not completing that conversion, that purchase, but they're still getting in there. So there's something that we can continue testing with. We can continue exploring this. We could also go into Google Analytics and look at this in more detail. So that's just a real quick tour of the Google Optimize interface and some of the power that you have here to target audiences, to see reporting from Google Analytics, and to really create those variants easily and serve those to users really quickly. Let's go ahead and jump back over to the presentation.
That was great, John. Thanks very much. Let me just bring up a few more things here, and then we'll go to some questions.
Great. So I wanted to share just a couple of other things about some customers that we've worked with on the Google Optimize team who've seen some great success with Optimize. So the first one is a company called Motley Fool. Now, many of you might be familiar with the Motley Fool. They're a financial publisher that focuses on subscription models. And one of the things that was really important to them was to make sure that they had really great democratization of their data for all of the different teams that cared about it within their company. So they invested a good deal in Analytics 360 to make sure that their tracking for leads and orders is 99% accurate. And they do things like server-side event tracking to make sure that that's the case. So they've invested this great deal of effort into Analytics 360. And of course, when it came time to look at a testing platform, it made a lot of sense for them to just use Optimize 360 because they don't have to go through all that headache again to make sure that all of their tracking is really, really accurate. They can let people run tests against these exact same metrics, no questions of which one is right, which one's true. It's just all set up for them. So that's one case that I was really excited about, and it's really helped them move more quickly. Another one is a company called Azimo. Now, Azimo you may not have heard of, but this is a small financial startup out of London. They help with people sending money around the world for various reasons. Now, one of the fascinating things about Azimo is that despite having a relatively small team, in the first 4 months of this calendar year alone, they've run 150 experiments. Incredible. It's more than one per day. And that's really a testament to just how easy it is they found Optimize to use and how easy it is to be really tightly integrated with all of that data. Now, you can imagine running 150 experiments. You might hope that they found some really good results, right? Well, they have. This is one particular page that they worked to optimize. And they found that users in India were a bit more price sensitive than others. And so when they ran a test on this page to really show their comparison to competitors, they saw a 176% increase in user registrations. So there's a lot of value here, and they've really been able to get a lot of the value out of the tool by running so many tests. So let's, I think that's just about it that I have to share, but I'll go ahead and hand that back over to Dave.
Well, thanks, John. That was really awesome. Really appreciate you taking us through the demo and some of those features. We definitely have some questions here, so I'll just wrap things up and then we'll go to those. As you heard today, Optimize and Optimize 360 are really solid testing and optimization platforms that allow you to identify opportunities for personalization and just ways to optimize your experiences. You can sign up today for the free version at the link on this slide, or you can reach out to a reseller like Cardinal Path, and we could help discuss the options and costs around the paid version of Optimize 360. The platform has a solid partner network of agencies and consultancies like us, and we can help you leverage the free version or take you through that steps of acquiring Optimize 360. The one ask I have of you today for when you leave this webinar is to step back and look at areas you might improve on your site experience and make a commitment to run a test. Take action on your findings. We find that one of the biggest mistakes or gaps that folks have when they start a testing program is that they go through the whole process of the effort of setting up a test and running a test, but they often don't apply those learnings from their test in a timely and effective manner. And then they really miss out on the biggest value gains that they can get from that. And so if you make that commitment to run tests, you need to commit the resources, that little bit of extra time afterwards to make sure you apply those learnings and you move on. And really, it's a circular process. You just keep going and looking for that next low-hanging fruit or that next gap that you see within your experience, and then move on and run tests there. And over time, you'll see this continuous improvement in how your site's performing and driving users to do what you want. So let's jump to a few questions. Let's see what we have that has come up while we've been going through here. So a few initial ones here. You know, what kind of setup is involved with getting this tool up and running? So can we do this ourselves? So that's a good question. I'll answer that, and John, if you feel like you want to jump in, just let me know. Optimize 360, Optimize, they're quite easy to set up. They can be deployed through Tag Manager. And so if you have Google Tag Manager or Tag Manager 360, enabling and activating it can be quite simple. Once you have it deployed across your site, now you can go into the interface and start running tests just like that. So it can be quite easy to deploy. If you don't have Google Tag Manager or Tag Manager 360, it'll work through some other tag managers will work. They do need to support the tagging tools, or you can do on-page tagging as well.
Yeah, Dave, just to add real briefly to that, the other aspect is you, of course, have to link this up with Google Analytics, but that's a pretty simple operation that we've tried to make really easy. I will mention that there are some performance trade-offs that you have to consider, and of course, Cardinal Path can help you evaluate those. If you want to deploy versus within Google Tag Manager versus putting something a little bit more directly on your page, it's all about what that trade-off is like and what your site is like and what the right option is for you.
Awesome. Yeah, and that's a good point on the linking with Google Analytics, because you do need administrative access across to make sure that you're able to link those up together. So you need somebody on your team with administrative access to both accounts. How do I access optimized reporting in Google Analytics? This is a good question. You know, John, and maybe one I'll let pass to you, but you showed the reporting within Optimize itself. You know, if people really want to dig in and do some more customized analysis, what are some of the options that they have there?
Yeah, that's a great question. So if any of you are familiar with some of the ability to use dimensions in your reports or create custom reports, Optimize data comes in as additional dimensions. So if you look in your Dimension Explorer, you'll find things called experiment ID, experiment name, and variant. And those let you really slice and dice almost any report by those experiment dimensions. So what you can do is make a segment that says this is a particular experiment 1 variant, and then make another one that is another variant. And you can look at any given report kind of segmented by those dimensions. We've got some great documentation in our Help Center about how to set those up well.
Awesome. And then the optimized dimensions are also exported as part of the Analytics 360 BigQuery export, correct? And so we've got a lot of clients that have actually been doing even deeper dives and performing some of their own analysis around the winners to really see what are some of the other metrics that are being impacted by the tests. You know, some of those more advanced clients that have their own data science teams or leverage our team to sort of really dig in there. And that's been really, really helpful and useful as well. A couple other questions here. You know, as per the example you showed about the free shipping service, is it only applicable to web device? So I mean, I'm assuming here they mean, you know, apps versus websites is what they're getting at here.
Yeah, that's a great question. So right now, Optimize works on websites, so obviously desktop websites, mobile websites, etc. We also do support some degree of kind of arbitrary hit sending from other devices. So in that case of a company like Motley Fool, they were interested in running some tests where they were actually running tests server-side. But as for apps, we don't yet support apps, but stay tuned there. there's more to come. Optimize is not yet finished, and we've got a lot of work we're putting into the product.
That's a good hint. Okay, just a few more here, and then we'll look to wrap things up. But is there any limitation for websites with a CMS framework? And from my perspective, and maybe you can augment this, but this goes back to sort of the conversation we had about deploying, the question we had about deploying Optimize. And really, most CMS platforms these days support whether it's a tag manager or a way of deploying tags through the platform. And the key is just sort of where those get deployed on the page, and that can have an impact to how your testing works. But most CMS frameworks fully support some type of testing platform that you can deploy. So here's one here. You mentioned, John, about the upcoming AdWords integration, and I don't know what you can share there, but what types of things can we target against with that integration?
Sure. So what happens there is once you link, we kind of assume that once AdWords is linked to analytics, and then there's one more checkbox in the AdWords interface, in Optimize, you will then have show up your accounts, campaigns, ad groups, and keywords. And that's just a start. We very well may build in more to come in the future, but that lets you really choose kind of the level of granularity that you want depending on how you structure your ad campaigns. And what happens there, I'm actually really excited about this from just a simplicity point of view, is we do a really, really fast lookup to make sure that we're getting that information from that AdWords campaign and serving the right experience to those users. So you don't have to do any manual tagging. In fact, it works best with auto tagging. And you don't really have to do any more setup in AdWords. You really just have all of that stuff show up and Optimize, and it's very, very easy to set that up and then deploy a test to those specific AdWords accounts, campaigns, ad groups, or keywords.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that because your landing pages are tied so closely to the test that you're running, and being able to really tailor. You could have a single page where you can tailor experiences across a variety of your media and advertising through AdWords there. That it's really exciting for us to be able to look at implementing that with some clients as it comes out. One here I'll take is, how does pricing work? So for those of you interested in Optimize 360, pricing is actually based on the Google Analytics web properties that your Optimize is linked to. So depending on the property you're linked on and the hit counts in that property, that's how your pricing is based. And pricing starts for 360 in the range of about $3,500 per month, which is pretty similar to other professional platforms out there with the features like Optimize. And of course, with Optimize 360, you get that advantage of sharing those audiences and some of the other improvements around the number of tests and things like that you can run. John, you mentioned earlier about performance impacts between the tag manager and on-site on-page tagging. Do you have suggestions for minimizing performance impact when implementing Optimize?
Yeah, that's a great question. So what we generally found, and we've done a ton of research on this, is that we wanted to make sure that, being a part of Google, we were really helping customers get the best performance on their page. So we care really deeply about this. What we found is we actually use what's known as an asynchronous approach to this, and that means that we're able to kind of load this in parallel, and we're able to time out that request if something, maybe a user's on a really slow connection or something like that. So what we generally recommend is, to the degree possible, there's one snippet that goes directly on your site, and that is a snippet, and what it does is it prevents the site from flickering. So it hides the page really briefly until either you hit that timeout or we get a response back from Optimize. And what we've generally seen is that our performance with Optimize is often faster than the site itself. So a lot of times we actually don't end up hiding the page at all. And then for implementation, what we suggest there is, to the degree that you can, if you're able to put some of that information directly on the page, great. You're usually able to get a little bit better performance from that. But if you do need to go and put that in Tag Manager, we still see some really good cases of performance there as well, and we're continuing to find ways to make this as quick as possible and as easy as possible to set up. It really just depends on your individual situation. There's a lot of people as well who are out there who may not be running a test on that very first page, or might be using something like a dynamic web app that has maybe a set of change loading that they don't really, they're more interested in getting that first render time rather than having the ability to change that very first page. Or maybe they're just changing stuff that's farther down the page and they're not as worried about things flickering. But for the best performance, we often find that people who do a little bit more of that direct implementation see better success with performance.
Awesome. Thanks very much for the detailed response. And I think we'll have to stop there in the interest of time, but thank you everyone for all your great questions. And if we didn't get to yours, don't worry. We're going to follow up with you directly and ensure that you get an answer from either John or myself. So hopefully this session gave you some really good insight into Google Optimize 360 and even Optimize Standard and some ideas as how to kickstart or build upon your own testing program. John, I'd really like to thank you for taking the time to join us today. I know you're super busy managing and launching all the great features on this product, and it's always great to really hear directly from the product managers at Google.
Of course, it's my pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.
And to all of you attending, I'd like to thank you for taking the time out of your day to join this session as well. Now, we will follow up after this. We'll send you a recording to today's webinar shortly, as well as the Q&A summary. And as always, please don't hesitate to reach out to me directly or your Cardinal Path account manager or through our Cardinal Path website. We're happy to answer any further questions you may have. And thanks for joining us, everyone, and happy testing.